Hello and welcome to episode 2. Is it episode 2?
It's episode 2.
Okay, of episode 2 of the Practice Odyssey.
Hire us.
Hi, I'm Jen.
Hey, this is Alex.
And welcome back to another episode of the Practice Odyssey. We've got a series of episodes chocked. We've got an episode chock full of interesting info about the flute and how to practice it, as well as for you to soothe you, dear listener, in this time of corona pandemic.
Yes, it has already affected our podcast.
Yes, we have had production delays due to corona. Actually, not really. But anyway. But, I mean, the fever is striking everywhere. The more I think the panic is striking everywhere. What were we saying? We were just talking about all the different ways people are reacting to the virus, which, you know, it is serious.
Of course,
however, people's reactions are a little interesting. For example, Tom, my husband, and I, we're planning this afternoon to go on a little bit of an apocalyptic shop, just in case the city closes down. So we'll get some, tin veg and stuff like that. However, we were discussing I was observing about the toilet paper crisis in Australia, and you were mentioning it's also happening in Germany.
Oh yes.
Right?
I've recently discovered that not only does it happen in Germany, but the Germans have a word for it. And in America, we have our doomsday shoppers, people who go out and they buy for end times. Here in Germany, they have hamster shoppers. People who like the cute little fluffy animals just gather up everything and hoard it and, just are ready for anything with their stash of toilet paper. I wonder if Reichert had ever collected anything hamster styles. Oh, but
hamsters, I'm sure he does. I do that with music. Do you find that? I definitely hamster hoard music.
Oh yes, yeah, hamster hoard.
I don't hamster hoard. That's just what it's called now. I don't think I've ever thrown out a piece of music. I've just got piles of it. Around.
Actually, now that you say that, I've never thrown out any music. Unless it's got mold on it. And even then, I try at least to see if I can, Yep.
It's true. Very true.
Yes. But yeah, speaking of things that come with us, Jen, do you want to tell us a little bit about what we read this week?
Yes. So these past 2 weeks, where we were focusing on the 7 exercises journalières by Reichert.
Yes.
Opus 5. I think you read up a little bit about him.
I think I did too. Actually, you know what? Whoa, I wrote a whole bio. So if you want, I can read that for us.
Let's hear it.
And before I start this, I always have to precede with some background information before you get your background information. And as I was searching the internet for some information about our dear composer of these, our person who put all these exercises together, Mr. Reichert, there's not a lot out there that is free domain on the internet, at least. And I went to many websites, and oftentimes I would see his name, his date of birth, his date of death, but that's about it. He doesn't even have a wiki page that I could find.
Wow.
Not even a wiki. Yeah. So I did manage to find one bio on the internet. And also regarding flute literature, I did check the Nancy Toft book, which is the one I have with me currently. I did not check any other reference points, flute literature book-wise. So if any of y'all know of any, please let us know, and then I can put those in our show notes for future listeners. But yeah, so from what I found on the internet, Mr. Matthew Andre Reichert was born in 1830. And he was born in Maastricht, the Netherlands, to nomadic musicians. And then he grew up playing flute in cafes and eventually studied at the Brussels Conservatory. And then after his studies there in 1859, he was invited to play in Rio in Brazil. So he went over with, I think, a bunch of opera singers from what I recollect, and kind of just went over there to do the whole, Erasmus experience after college and just, gain some insights of the world. Which, back in 1859, I mean, with the coronavirus being what it is today, I mean, they had, like, things like smallpox, I bet, and, like, all these other issues. Come on. So anyways, while he was there, he made friends with Joaquim Antonio da Silva Caiado Jr., The junior really feels like it doesn't fit in there. But he was also a Brazilian flutist, or he was a Brazilian flutist. And then he, between him and Reichert, it's believed that they helped found this style of playing the flute, like the Bern flute style of playing in Brazil, which is quite unique. So, unfortunately, Mr. Reichert died in Brazil from a cerebral convulsion caused by meningoencephalitis in 1880.
Oh.
So he died around the age of 50, which is quite sad.
Yeah,
so
that's quite young.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why, like, that maybe all of his repertoire or information about his life is also maybe written in Portuguese, because that's the language of Brazil. So maybe if anyone over there, or any of our listeners speak Portuguese or know anything more about this, holler at your favorite podcast. But anyways,
otherwise that could be a great master's project.
Yes, go live in Brazil. Research Reichert. Oh my gosh. Thoughts, people? Oh my gosh. Okay, so on to his work. So these, the 7 daily exercises, which we practiced for the last 2 weeks, they were published initially in 1872. So that's going to be about 8 years before his death. Since his release, it has been republished many times and edited by other flutists, including Carol Winson's. And their relative approachfulness ensured that they are maintained as a staple in the flute repertoire list. And then, Jen, how did we practice these?
We noticed that there were 7 exercises. And every single exercise is repeated in every major and minor scale. So what we decided was, instead of practicing one every single day, what we'd do is we would choose 2 keys. 2 keys a day, major and minor. So both of them. And we would play every single exercise in that day of that key. So say we picked a C major, A minor, F major, and D minor. We would play exercises 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 7. And then that would give us 6 days of exercises, and also we'd get a rest day, which is very nice. So that's how we did it for the first week.
Okay.
And we just followed the articulation as written. And then second week, we kind of agreed we could use our imagination, because there are no actual instructions about how to practice.
Yeah, that's true.
What combination to do them in, at least with the edition which we have. So potentially we're missing a page. I don't know.
Yeah, only tempos and articulations that were written on the page.
Tempos and ticket. Don't get me started. Yes, let's. So I guess that means that roars us into week 1. Alex, would you like to go first?
Yes, I'd love to talk about my week 1. So week 1 was good. I was here in Germany just doing my practice thing. The weather has been actually quite warm here in Germany. It hasn't been that bad. My sister was visiting again, which is always cool. I feel like she's been here a lot when I record podcasts. So, yeah. And
she's handy for, like, talking about it, though. She always has pretty cool insights about it. I really like listening to them.
Yeah, she's really good. And I'm glad you got to see her again when we came to visit in Cambodia.
Yeah,
so
it was so nice.
Really nice. Oh my gosh.
Shout out Tash.
Yeah, Tasha. And she downloaded our podcast to listen to on the plane, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's really nice.
So, so she was here. So initially, like we talked about before, I've played through these in the past, but I've never really looked at making a practice routine out of them. Like, okay, let's do kind of like how we set it out. So, the first week went okay. However, I was quite disturbed at like how high the metronome speeds were set for like the bass tempo to start, which could be a typo, could be an editor's mistake, could also be like maybe they just play a lot faster in Brazil. I don't know. It's up for interpretation. And then after doing about a day or two of them, my husband Marco here, he had also heard me practicing them, and I asked for his input on them because he hears me practice every day. Like he's quite familiar with how the flute is supposed to sound, I think, in the first part of your like warm up or like your practice session. So here's the recording. Yeah. I was just wondering what you thought, just like in comparison with like other warm ups you've heard, like if it was really long, if it was really short, if it sounded like it might have helped, or
kind of short. It seemed like it would promote sloppy playing if you're just trying to get through the really fast bits.
Yeah, true. Because he doesn't really put anything in there.
Like if you started that really slow and like did them for a couple of days, like the same every day, but every day a little faster. Yeah, that might probably be helpful.
But like those are the starting tempos for this, and there's nothing in here that says like start at a slower tempo. So like if I was somebody who was not a professional, like if it was just me doing this however I normally, I would start at a slow tempo, get it better, and then like just like you said. But he doesn't say anything, and that's like part of my issue with this book is that like if you have an instructor helping you, then it would be okay because they would tell you what I'm about to tell you. But if you're just on your own, like these starting tempos were insane. Yeah, so Marco had the same concerns that I did, which, just with regards to the tempo. And then also he brought up a good point about the repetition or repeats. In a lot of the things that we've done, we repeat our exercises multiple times, which I've never given a second thought to before because it's just what we do. Like, okay, we have to practice it and repeat it till we get it right. But the only one we repeat in this edition is the C major one at the very end because it's got a little Alcinio, which lead back up to that. So that was another thing where there were no instructions on like, okay.
Why do we do? Is it just so that we go full circle, finish where we began? Yeah.
So I ended my first week just kind of a little bummed about the tempos, getting tired of playing things quite fast, a little sad about the lack of articulation variants as well. Yeah. But they're just so beautiful to listen to, so they made up for it on that front for me. So how about you, Jen? How was your first week?
Oh, well, before I tell you about your first week, I ducked into the other room to get my metronome. Here we go. Let's sing the tempo. Yeah, that's the minimum. Then maximum is. But what was there was a really ridiculous one, wasn't there? There was one at like 200.
Yeah, there's one that's
and that's a super chromatic one.
Yeah, which doesn't. I've just got so many. Yeah,
and then 144. And that's
the one with the really large jumps as well. I mean, if you're a beginning, because I mean they're very nice, but they're kind of laid out for like the middle flutist, not an advanced flutist, but like someone who's no longer a beginner and wants to improve their technique. I would if I'm sitting down to my music area and I got my metronome and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this proper. And I turn it on, and I hear that. I mean, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna be like, if I have any trepidation towards technical ability, like it's going out the window. Like I'm running.
You can just see, you can feel your whole body just tensing up into one giant ball.
Oh my gosh!
Horror and anticipation. My favorite, I think, is number 5. Okay, triplets on this. Let's just roll that off every 12 keys. Oh, so great.
That was a great idea. Yeah. They were just, Oh. So So, but anyways, yeah. So, Jen, how was your first week with the Reicherts?
my first week. Well, it was a little bit different in that I just completely ignored the metronome markings, so that was not an issue for me.
I'm so glad you did like what's supposed to be done and like just do it at a slow tempo. Oh my gosh.
Not really. Like, I mean, I guess if we were doing the challenge, I should have done the metronome markings. That was naughty me on my part. Anyway. But I'm happy, or else they just would have got probably really quite tense. But I think I didn't do a voice memo, but I think I sent you a text message.
You did.
I sent you a text message after the first day, and it read, "Reichert took me 10 minutes. LOL."
Yes.
And then I think that was it.
Yeah, it was great because I had just finished doing mine too, and I was like, and so we must have been on the same practice wavelength. But that was great. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh.
It's so short. I'm thinking out of all of the ones we've covered so far, this is the shortest one. This is the shortest one by far.
I mean, it's only 7 exercises.
It's only 7 exercises, and they're quite short. Maybe the method which we were doing it was too little. I don't know, but in that case, it's a little bit hard to tell because there are no instructions, you don't really know what is expected of this warm up. I really did enjoy it. It was nice doing the little scales. It was a really nice warm up because it kind of works on steps, and then you get into larger and larger intervals, and at the end you kind of you finish on some articulation to warm up the tongue. So I liked the gradient of it, and I quite enjoyed that. What I found it particularly useful for was the piccolo, because I have to play piccolo in a gig soon.
That's right, with the Pen on Pen Symphony Orchestra, because you're a boss.
Pen on Pen Symphony Orchestra. Well, yeah, hopefully we get to play, but I don't know. But yeah, I found this really nice because I guess it's so tonal, and maybe this is why we've kind of been introduced to it over the years in like little dribs and drabs. To be honest, I never knew where they came from. They just get kind of given to you on pieces of paper by your teacher or taught to you by ear, and they're just like, practice this, and you're like, all right. Blah, 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 blah. Meaning it's difficult on the piccolo.
And there's lots of slurring, which is hard for intonation on the piccolo, especially.
Particularly in the middle register, It's just horrible. Like, anywhere to E. That middle register E.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
My nemesis, Alex. My nemesis. I shake my fist at it. Nemesis.
Middle E, my nemesis.
Middle E! You won't slur properly. Yeah, and like it kind of the way it kind of slowly moves up into the high register as well is really nice for warming up on the piccolo, helping with the tension and all that kind of stuff you have to watch out for with it. So yeah, I found first week was just very nice as a piccolo exercise. So that's mainly what I used it for. So how was your week?
So it was artist choice. And for me, I decided, since just like you, they did not take very long to go through doing like 2 major, 2 minors of each exercise, even though there's 7 of them. It took me also about 10 minutes, especially with the tempo set. So the first thing I did for week 2 was I decided that I wanted to do all of them every day, because I thought that might be a nice little way to like do like a set of vocalies. They don't take very long. There's only like 8 pages of them, and I could work them in, as like a little bit of interval practice, a little bit of like, like checking my intonation on different things. And then if I threw in some articulations too, like as well, then it would be really well-rounded. So with thrown in new articulations, so it only took me 30 minutes to get through all of these.
Wow.
And that was even with some repeats. If I decided to go extra slow and, like really like get all the little bits and bobs, like 40 minutes. But it did not take very long, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite nice. So they kind of just replaced my everyday warm-up instead. So of doing some random scales and all of that. I mean, to be granted, there are no like long tone passages in here to practice, but I mean, I still added some of those in on my own. But So these were quite nice for like scalar stuff, and I quite enjoyed my week too. I think mainly just because my metronome did not die of like scaredness this time. Like, it was not like, what have you done? So yeah, so that was really good.
Okay, if you were editing these 7 exercises, what is the top thing you would put in the notes for practicing?
Okay, so I think for me, it would be, so for me personally, I really enjoy the way that Paul Edmund Davies has edited his works and his exercises that he's published for flutists. Like there's the 28 daily exercise warm up, and there's also his flute
Consequence of sequence.
I was like the one with the really cool name, Consequence of Sequences. And I really enjoy how, I mean, and he's a great writer as well, so he always puts like a little joke in there as well, but then he breaks down, okay, this is how I practice it, this is how I would recommend, you practice it yourself, and this is the goal of these exercises. So, so for me, I would probably do something similar where, like, even if it doesn't have to be a whole page as he does, just like putting something at the top, like learning tempo, suggested learning tempo, because then once you put suggested in, it's, up for interpretation. And then I would also maybe have a page in there about how to approach these with different articulations and what the author has found particularly useful for himself. But yeah, I would put something in there, like maybe some suggested, because even Susan Milan did that in her book too. Like, I mean, another great, she had suggested articulations and everything. And I would also put in something about repeats, because even though we all dread seeing repeat this 3 to 5 times, it's kind of, okay, but we need to do this so it sounds good. So it improves. Yeah. If you just rush through it, nothing's going to be accomplished. Like, except for like that you'll play fast and it might not sound very good.
Yeah.
So.
Because, then it stretches your concentration, actually, because I find, repeating things a couple of times, it always, like, the chance of it crashing and burning, the more repeats you do, is greater and greater and greater. It's weird, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's like you do it successfully a couple of times, then all of a sudden your brain's like, okay, this is easy now. And then all of a sudden you crash and burn. You have no idea what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we'll have some ideas with our next podcast, because they talk about it a little bit. Oh my gosh. But that's another spoiler, so we won't talk about that just yet.
Spoiler! That was awesome. Thanks, Alex. I like that. We should
make our own
write
little
some
notes.
Practice notes.
Yeah! We can have a little section called practice notes. Yeah, that's true. So, oh my gosh. But yeah, how was your week too, Jen? What'd you get up to? So...
Yeah, my week too. Okay, well, again, as I said, quite a bit of it was spent on it. Well, half of it was spent on an island. Practice was not happening. But the bits which I did get to do, so I have seen these before, a few of them. I've spotted them. I'm pretty sure exercise number 2 is in the Trevor Wide tone book.
Oh, okay.
Or something very, very similar.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's at the beginning. And then there was another one which I think I'd seen in some tone book before. It's, maybe it's the... Maybe that one. Or, I mean, to be honest, that pattern happens a lot in music normally. So maybe I'm projecting. But but one thing which I practiced got given as a project by a professor in university was exercise number 1, and he used it as an articulation and détaché exercise. So using number 1, we'd have to we would repeat the scale 5 or 6 times by the end of it, because you do a whole series of where you'd play it détaché, legato. You'd be in every note. You'd play sextuplets in tukata. You'd play every note on quadruplets.
Yeah, right? Quadruplets. Yeah.
Yep. Quadruplets. Or even like that. Yes, quadruplets. On tukata. And then you would do just on double and triple tonguing, and then the whole thing in triple tongued or double tonguing. So by the time you played about 6 or 7 times, the scale was really comfortable under your fingers, and you'd also had this enormous kind of articulation warm up. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it was great. I hadn't done it for a while because, you know, you kind of put things on rotation and you forget about them. And anyway, it reminded me of it, and I thought, oh, that's actually really good and pretty useful for some pieces which I'm playing at the moment. So yeah, I did that for the second half of the week, and it was really fun, and did also kind of flesh it out a bit more, which I found useful.
Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I wish he had some notes like that at the beginning. That would have made it a lot better for me.
So that was my second week. I don't think I did anything too crazy with the other ones, apart from I just kept chugging along at the piccolo. One thing I did discover is doing this whole process, all the different patterns, particularly the ones in the fourths and the thirds, and even the turns. The one with the slightly chromatic turn. Oh yeah. Yeah, and we're all reading. Well, I'm reading these for the first time, and I discovered that there are a few weak spots in which keys I find easier to read and which I don't.
Oh yeah, that's
right. So new project is find some studies in the keys of what is it? G flat. G flat major in particular. Maybe I've got a little bit too comfortable with F sharp major, so G flat major is going to have to be practiced. And and I'm going to have to find a few G flat major studies as well to really get myself comfy with that one.
I know, that's a good idea. That must be a fun challenge. Let's just find lots of G flat etudes and studies.
Just G flat. And the other one is as soon as it switches over to to something like C flat, just my brain explodes.
Yeah, so true.
Clearly, I need to practice this more. Yeah. Those were 2 revelations which I had. Well, that was a revelation I had when practicing Reichert. Yeah. So that was my week too. So brief, but then these exercises are kind of brief. Yeah. Again, I ignored the metronome markings again.
Beautiful.
Just never really thought about them. To be honest, I'm sometimes a little bit suspicious of metronome markings, especially when they're that fast, because I'm never quite sure if it was Reichert or if it was the editor just having a moment.
Yeah, the editor saying, "Oh, this is..."
Sitting there going, "Oh no, they'll have no idea how fast to play this. Quick, just whack something in."
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are some weird editor metronome markings out there.
Oh yes,
they're just completely wrong.
Yes,
completely wrong.
Quite a lot of errata. So. All of the errata. There's many websites and books dedicated to making sure we all know where they are. So
I know. Maybe we should make sure that this is put in 2, or maybe it's supposed to be like this. In which case, Reichert.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
So that was my week too. Yeah, that was my week too.
You'll have to send me your articulation things that you got from your professor, and then we can implement those on a future one too.
He even puts a bit of détaché in there. It's very encompassing. Or we should explain what détaché is in case people don't know.
Oh yeah.
How do you explain détaché?
I'm gonna Google it.
Détaché. Well, how it was explained to me is it's the use of creating sound by pushing the air out very forcibly with your stomach muscles in kind of a big whoosh.
Oh,
that is so untechnical.
I love it, but it's very visual. By the way, I just Googled it because I was curious as well. And there is actually a whole book called the Flutist de Tosh book, written and edited by Robert Stallman and published by G. Schirmer. incorporated,
Oh.
I think. So, and
What
Hal
does
Leonard.
it say about de Tosh?
As far as what it says, I think I have to buy the book. But there's a lot of really interesting resources out there. I know that there's the one woman on Facebook. What is her name? She's Leah Pearson, and she's doing a whole series which is free about it. So maybe have a watch on that, anybody. So
Ooh, check it out.
yeah. So.
Yeah, I kind of always took it as a kind of an exercise to get you thinking about using generosity of air, making sure you're well supported in your sound. I guess a little bit like maybe the lip trill exercises which singers use, where they've got to kind of sing through a raspberry.
Oh, right,
Because you have to have a certain amount of airstream to keep that sound going, to keep your lips, I guess, effectively blowing a raspberry. So that's kind of always what I took de Tosh is like making sure you're activating, you're getting all the support happening, you're using lots of energy with your breath control and stuff. Anyway. Yeah. That's always what I took it as. Kind of gets you wakes you up in the morning.
Yeah.
Blows out the cobwebs. Yeah. So yeah, that was my week 2. Which I guess brings us to our conclusion. How useful did we find it? Yeah.
So for me, I think my verdict is that I like these exercises, and if I would just ignore some of the, if I would grant myself the ability to just take it, at face value what everything says, and just apply what I think would be a good way to practice it, then it would be good. Which sounds very, very millennial. If I can do it my own way, then I like it. So
we'll throw in some avocados. It'll be great.
Yeah, avocado toast. Who needs a house? So I would say, like, these, they're so easy. I don't even think they need to be on my stand. They're already in my head because they're very memorable little melodies.
Memorable.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I will stick with these. They're always really nice to pull out, especially if you're a little busy and you just need to work through some things, and they're just they're so nice to hear. So I've never had a neighbor complain when I play the record.
So maybe these are the ultimate hotel practice warm-ups.
Ooh, I like that.
The least offensive warm-up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We may have discovered gold, Alex.
What?
This is the version of the flute mute.
Oh
it's just so inoffensive.
I know. So Jen, how did you find? What is your verdict? What is your judgment?
My verdict. Yes, they're very nice. I think they're going to stay on maybe my piccolo stand. Mm-hmm. They're going to stay on my piccolo stand. Not sure. I think exercise 1 will stay on my flute stand just because I'm finding my professor's way of breaking down the articulation a really good warm up for your articulation every day. Just helping to keep it, helping it not to stay light,
to get too rusty. And, it keeps it
exactly.
And those
keep up the
middle
tongue strength. Yeah, exactly. And then the piccolo one, of course, it's great because especially the first couple of exercises, there's so much middle register in those exercises. It's fantastic, especially for those horrible middle notes like the E, the F, and the D, getting them really nice and smooth. Yeah. So that's and they're really nice and melodic. So again, it's easy. It's it really helps the intonation issues stand out quite strongly. And then you can move into articulation, which is always great on the piccolo because you have to practice it so much smaller.
Yes.
So I think this is definitely staying on my piccolo music stand.
Woo!
All
right.
So that's the end of episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us in this time of trial.
Yes.
Please
Tribulation.
write and let us know what you think about anything about the idea of using jalapenos as an inspiration to wash your hands.
Your personal
TikTok
experience
dances,
with Reichert,
or the flute. Let us know what you think about anything that we mentioned on the on the podcast. I do
Yes.
want to emphasize, though, that we are not doctors and we know nothing about coronavirus, so probably I suggest going to the WHO website for any updates on that.
Please
but
do.
Apart from that, anything on Reichert, which we mentioned, please shoot us a message. We'd love to hear suggestions, or maybe if you have found practice notes or you know about all this research which is being done in Portuguese, which we can't read, that would be great. We'd love to hear about it. You can write to us at thepracticeodyssey@gmail.com. And I do want to say that the music in this episode was written by the fabulous Alessandra Woods.
What?
And our great show art was by Ivan Potter. You can find us at any of the places. Well, you can find yourself at most of the places you'll find your regular podcasts. So tune in. And thank you again. Have I remembered everything?
I think so.
Okay. And
I don't know
thank you
anyway.
again for... I don't know anyway. We'll find out.
Yeah.
And thank you again for joining us for another Practice Odyssey. Hope you tune back in next week. And remember to wash your hands, people.
Yes. This is Alex and Jen signing off so they can go wash their hands.
Bye!
Bye! What do you need? Are you offended by the way I have the microphone set up?
Yes.
Is he giving you judgy looks? Right now? This
He's
is so
giving
great.
me judgy looks. But no, it needs to be away from like my mouth so that I don't hear any popping noises.
It's
You're
like
so
a
funny.
handspan. Handspan, Mike.
A handspan.
A handspan. The book
This is
says.
how big my hand is. I could use another coffee. Women's Day.
Women's Day. Okay,
Anyways,
that's definitely going in the podcast.